Boom. What's up, every business? Yeah, I'm fine. Oh, making me blush. I wondered why they were saying Hake is combing his hair. My goodness. Okay, it is 9:05 a.m. U.S. Pacific Daylight Standard something time here in Los Angeles. And it's Tuesday, August 13th, AD 2024. There is one line open, guys. He has such a healthy looking tan. It's called blushing. I'm blushing because I did my whole intro and I forgot to start the show. The world. How embarrassing. What's up, everybody? Well, at least the live audio feed listeners probably heard all that, so I won't repeat it too much, but I'm going to talk about J.D. Vance. They're going after J.D. Vance, going after his business. And, you know, successful businessmen, as well as successful artists, you know, those liberals known as singers and even probably some rappers and bandmates, they are tough to work with. So give me a break. Yeah, amazing shirt, Hake. I need one. Yeah, thank you, C-Sal. Yeah, I disavow t-shirt. The audio podcast listeners, the audio live listeners finally get a win. Indeed. I also will talk about our English brothers, whom I disavow, for making the POC Brits feel less safe. So you're just yelling show to yourself. Indeed, I was. So let me bring you guys some fun stuff right now, guys. And also the live callers who were calling in right now, they too have to hear me do this intro again. So anyway, guys, let's just get right on with the... Lord have mercy. Show!
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey, guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, how you guys doing? I am fine. Yes, and you can get your disavow t-shirt, I disavow t-shirt. You better learn to disavow by going to thehakereport.com, teespring.com/stores/the Hake Report. And Zazen, kind of annoying at this point, says disavow thing, kind of annoying at this point. I get it. I think I get it, okay? All right. Yeah, you don't want to abuse the joke, and sometimes it's not a joke. Indeed, it's not a joke when I disavow the riots. It's like, duh. Give me a break. We are civilized men. That's what they like about us. And when we kick them out, we kick them out like civilized men. If we get to kick them out. We probably won't. Probably won't. Oh, you're going to disavow. Or you're just going to suffer. But change your name, Zazen. Nah, that's mean. Maybe this is an Asian who has... whatever. I don't know. No, I'm kidding around. Thank you, Zazen, for joining. Stand up, white man. Stand up for what's right, though. Not stand up and do something dumb and evil and rash, all hot-headed, and make it worse for yourself and everybody else. Right? Right. I disavow the disavow, says Imperfect Citizen. Indeed, you definitely can do that. Honk, honk. I don't know if you guys heard that. So, thehakereport.com. Nice. Thank you, guys. Let me get to a call or two, guys, before I get into the J.D. Vance and the POCs over in England feeling unsafe. That's an opportunity, by the way, fellow English brothers. And English foreigners. It's an opportunity. Everything is an opportunity. But let me get to TAKA out of New Mexico, a first-time caller on the line here. TAKA, are you there?
Hi, Hake.
Hey, can you hear me? Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes. Actually, my name is much longer, which is Takahashi. But
Oh, okay.
it's a Japanese name, and people have a tough time pronouncing correctly. So it's easier to just make it Taka.
Okay, right on. That sounds more like it. That sounds more Japanese to go the full
Yes, sir.
Takahashi. Right on. Cool. Good to hear from you. Thanks for calling.
First time talking to Jesse and you and on the radio setting, so that's why I was kind of nervous and I was kind of slow with the response.
Oh, you're fine. No, it was a good call. Taka called to Jesse Lee Peterson show yesterday late in the show, and then he called back today and was able to get through and have a great conversation, I think in the second hour of the Jesse Lee Peterson show.
Yes.
So what's up? How you doing? What do you want to talk about?
Good. Well, same subject pretty much, but also as overall as a country as whole in the United States, I think there's a huge issue, as I mentioned, that with I think socialism and I shouldn't say socialism, more of a communism issue that I mentioned, which Yuri Bezmenov clearly, I mean, he couldn't be more clear about what's going on, and just need to do just few Googles, and you can see all this historical figures that supposed to be we praise them for today. They were all in basically communism movement, and I don't understand how and why nobody really put highlight on this more.
Right. Today. And they did a successful, you mentioned Yuri Bezmenov, he was a former KGB, which is Russian communist, I guess a spy or propagandist or something, and he defected, and he had this great old interview on some station, I forget what, on some channel, some program, talking about what's happening in America and how it's happening quickly. And that was like 40 years ago, maybe, plus or minus. And communists I've learned about communists over the years from other people, as well as bits of that Yuri Bezmenov interview, that they exploit the natural fissures of society, such as race, the natural divisions to divide. And JLP has pointed out how in the unions, the socialist unions, in order to recruit people and other organizations to other sets of employees at different places, like a hospital, to become unionized, which means more money for them, they target the angry people, the bad employees, basically. And then they get unionized. And it's happening to Starbucks and everything. And Starbucks kind of bring it on themselves for being, in my opinion, commie capitalist. But it is it's interesting because you mentioned all these so-called civil rights heroes, and a lot of us fell for it because I was raised thinking that MLK was a good guy, Martin Luther King Jr., and that I had heard different people say, there was questions about communism. There were other people who were communists in his movement, the so-called civil rights movement. Correct. But I was thinking, judge by color and not character. Anybody could agree with that. But in reality, the people who were separating by color were not necessarily judging by color.
Exactly. They speak of it's almost like Jesse might would say the devil's tongue, like says one thing but actually actions completely tell you otherwise.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. He was actually. I heard him on Uncle Tom 2. Uncle Tom 2 is a documentary put together by, Larry Elder's the executive producer. JLP is on it. Jesse Lee Peterson. And this guy, Chad O. Jackson, and they played this clip of of MLK responding after this black woman tells this victimhood sob story. And he's like, my. And I'm like, whoa, he is just like the phony people
Right. Exactly.
of today. You know, the ones who we just think are a joke.
Right. I have a little. I watched Jesse's another show a couple of days ago. I believe it was. This lady, I believe she identified herself, race and culturally as black. So that's where I have a problem with.
Say again?
Say I'm a race. She identified herself racially and culturally was black.
This
I
woman,
believe 3-4 days ago. Can you hear? Sorry.
Yeah. Who was this woman who identified as racially and culturally as black? Was this on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, a caller?
But Jesse was telling her, "Oh, you look like white. You look like white. You look so white." You probably remember that show. I think it was 3-4 days ago. It was uploaded.
Okay.
But so that's where I have a problem with. So now you see where I'm coming from when I say colors. We should use the English language colors as colors only, not race, right? So that's where I have an issue. Like, I think that's why I think some of us citizens or people get confused. Like, what do you mean? Like, black is a color, but when you say black culture or black race,
right?
But what but what does that even mean? Like, what's black race? Then, oh, by the way, he's a dark brown, but then there's a lighter skinned person, but that's black. Then I said, well, that don't even look black. Actually, she looked like white, but she called herself black. Then,
right.
Like, what is it then? Right? So I think that's where I agree with Jesse on. You can, of course, we have eyes, and we should be able to say, oh, she's black, or maybe, darker brown, or whatever.
Right.
How do you call it? Like, appearance-wise, to make sure that you know who you're talking about. But when I think these people trying to say is use that word as race or culture, then that's when things get confusing, because it's not appearance-based anymore. Just as the Caucasian-looking, I mean, for me, coming from Japan, imagine if I landed to the United States just now,
right? If
I see the show and she looked exactly like person came from Europe, but she's like, I'm black. It doesn't make any. How does that make any sense? I learned English language. Black color is black,
right?
But she's as light skin as it gets. So
right, but her culture could align with what the typical black-looking person is. It's so it's both a color and a race, if you will, and a culture. And a lot of people will fall into, I think that even if you convince, which I don't think you'll ever do it, convince people to stop talking about race or stop saying that it's multiple races. The people who say, oh, there's only one race, the human race, most of them are still hateful people, and they'll still divide and be able to be divided and conquered.
Exactly. So that's where actually the main core part of what I was actually calling, but I'm sorry, English is a second language for me as well. So
no problem.
Been here 30 years.
You have a clear accent. It's not hard to understand you at all.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. It's fine.
And so that's why, like, I was explaining exactly to this person which was some prominent figure, I guess from Ohio or something, one time on X.
Yeah.
That Japanese is culture, and he's like, no, that's a race. I said, no. So tell me the difference between me and Chinese guy if I stand next to you.
Right.
He can't. So that's not a race, right? Japanese is not a race.
It's a nation. It's more like a nation.
Right.
I feel like a nation is different. I think we started talking about the race stuff because we started getting more diverse. Because there used to be just a handful of foreigners in any one country. And now we've we've mixed people together. I say we, but the society has mixed people together much more than maybe ever. And
Right.
so people are kind of forced to talk about this stuff because there is a difference. And then also, it's not just that, it's also Satan works in the mind to tell you, oh, the whites are discriminating against me because I'm Japanese or because I'm black or because I'm Hispanic. And
Right.
and then the whites are agreeing. There are some whites who are agreeing with them and telling them this too.
Right.
Yeah. That's that communism.
The thing. Like, I have a friend who one time called himself. I started to understand what's going on now, as he say, in a big broad brush, but evil against the good. But like, for instance, I have a friend who identify his culture, I guess, culture as white. So I say, no, there's no such a thing as white culture. Like, you have German, Italian, British, and so on and so forth. That's why I think when you go around the country, I think these people never travel or something, but each state has, for instance, like London. You know, where do you think the name London City come from, or village? Well, probably predominantly English, right?
Right.
So
I would think so.
Right. I don't think Chinese people would go to middle of Ohio and call name the city London.
Right.
You know, so you can tell. So you can be proud of your culture. Like, I'm English culture. I have Italian culture, German culture, heritage. Yes, I 100% agree. But when you say just broad brushes white culture, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, so wait a minute. If white culture is one singular culture, then why does only recently that the British started to accept Irish? You know what I mean? Or
right.
Spanish.
No,
they used to hate each other.
Yeah, the whites. There are many white cultures, and there are many white civilizations, and I kind of like. I heard the contrast stated before that you can have culture or you can have civilization. The more you get into culture, the more you get away from civilization, being civilized. You can you can have like a little bit of a balance to it, I guess.
I think so.
But a lot of times the people who are the most into culture are like the least civilized, the least functional in terms of cooperating, being lawful and orderly, stuff like that. Being peaceful. People say whites don't have a culture, and that's kind of
true, right?
It's not exactly true, but there is something that's true about it, in that they can adopt good things from other cultures, and also that they build up cities, or build up towns or whatever, and work together, because it's just people.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like the whites are exploited because of that reason, and shame on them for letting themselves be exploited in that way.
Exactly. Then it's even more when you go down to deeper thinking of, if these. I mean, it is sad to even say these people call themselves like they believe in science and all this stuff.
Right.
And I started to realize in 2020 that the people who easily say they believe in science, but they do all this mandates and lockdowns without any proof,
right?
So forth, and they have Trump derangement syndromes and stuff like that, without any proof. I mean, the effectiveness of vaccines, even they started to lie about, and it's like a racial riots, and J6 is the same, or like. Then you started to understand, like, oh, then I discovered the Yuri interview, and like, oh, this demoralization has already been completed. So
yeah, so
we
true.
are in a destabilization now.
Yeah, that is so true. So, we're very destabilized and demoralized, even on the right. It's so bad.
Exactly.
The demoralization is so bad that the people on the right, if you will, some of us are celebrating, and we're kind of infighting over whites rioting in the UK because we're so desperate for somebody to stand up, so that we'll take standing up in the wrong way and take that as a good thing. And that's demoralization. You're demoralized.
Right. I mean, it's already been. We can almost see it in the real life that everybody's demoralized.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, like Sandra Quarter at the end talking to Jesse about men start doing the manicure and pedicure and all this stuff. And,
right.
And it's demoralized. Like why would you, if you're men born as men, and why would you try to be like women?
Yeah, you're calling
like feminine.
You're talking about that young man James on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. Toward the end of the show, he called in about Dwayne Wade painting his nails with nail polish, and Jesse mentioned he's letting his son go into the transgender thing, and even that caller is demoralized because he's getting angry and upset about it, and he wants to be a Christian, but he himself is demoralized by this evil in the world. Exactly. Yeah. And I know you and Jesse's show is Christian faith show, so I know you might not heard of or never seen, but since I'm from Japan and I try and understand my cultural upbringing is and so forth. So recently I even studied, for instance, on I don't know if you know the guy named Yukio Mishima. Possibly. I feel like that's something more that Anchor Baby might have heard of. I have no idea.
Right.
But he knows a lot of stuff like that. Okay, who is this person? What about him?
Oh, so he's a Japanese writer. Of course, it's the name. His real name is not Yukio Mishima, but he's a Japanese writer from after the war. And he was talking about as a Japanese man, after the war, lost the purpose because men are supposed to be men and understand that we need to sometimes face death. And when you take away the faith in a death as a man, we lose peace because all of our history, the death was next to us. But now you start taking away the death and say, no, you don't have to worry. So what he heard right after the war is that he called it scholars. Scholars started to rise up and say, from now on, this is our time and our future now. Wow. We're going to take over, and we're going to make Japan better. So his mind was, what's better? What are you talking about? So am I wrong, to feel as men? And, is it bad for me to be manly, for instance? Right. So I think that's where it's. I think we saw that in probably a similar thing in Japan. I didn't know it was ever gonna come to United States, but we saw that in Japan was even in 80s and 90s, people started doing pedicure, manicure as men, and they start plucking their eyebrows. And if you see any anime, for instance, that is as demoralized thing you can ever see because men look like women look, so men and women both look exactly identical. Yeah. So you're taking away identity as a man even. So he was right when he was saying this in the 50s and 60s. So he was, they called him right winger. He just wanted, to me, I think what Jesse sometimes say things and stuff like that, I kind of see, if you watch Yukio Mishima, I think he had an interview in Japanese. It's kind of hard to watch, but it has a translation at the bottom with the NHK, I guess the station was. But that's what he says. After the war, I lost the purpose. Then all these scholars saying that it's their time now, and it's no longer for the men like me. And I think that's where Japan went wrong direction. It's just they all now kind of. Then I remember clearly I lived there in the 80s. think it was a crazy number, 60 or 70% of citizens in Japan at the time were asked, unanimously agreed that if anybody come and attack Japan, would you defend? 70% said no.
Wow. Interesting. And that's
where
that's happening here too.
It's happening now. I mean, when I landed first in 1990, it wasn't everybody like, hey, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what it is. We as Americans, neighbors, we're going to stick together. If there's any outside force coming in, of course, we're going to beat them.
Right.
Now it's gone, it started to dissipate. And I'm scared that I'm seeing the similar things happen in Japan in the 80s and 90s. Now it's, guys look like women and all this stuff happening. And same things are going to happen here.
That's wild.
And, you might not like it or seen it before, but just find any anime and you can see it's insane. It's just all the guys look like women in the face and long hair. And, I mean, that's where the kids watch. So they're trying to demoralize kids.
Yeah. Wow, that is interesting, Taka.
Right.
I appreciate this call. It's good to hear from you. Call me again, man.
All right. Thank you, Hake. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate taking my call.
Yeah, very interesting, man. Take care.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I had heard this anchor maybe, I feel like, has mentioned that Japan's going through very similar things with the birth rates. And it's interesting to hear a Japanese man, immigrant to America, I guess, 30, 40 years or something, talking about how the men have become women. What a mess. And that's happening here. I thought of myself, honestly. I have to admit, guys, you haters, you guys calling Hake a pacifist, it reminds me, if people were to invade America, I mean, they're already doing it. Our enemy is really within us and then within the country too. Like the outsiders, yeah, I mean, they're enemies, but we have kind of wide open borders and we're letting them in. The enemy in America is letting more enemies into America. But would I stand up? Would I be willing to fight for the country and be like, oh, no, uncle, I'm saying uncle, ouch, Some of you Southerners, I've heard some of you guys talk about, like this, there's this UFC fighter guy. And shout out to the UFC fighters. They can be hit and miss. But there's this one guy who said, oh, if they invaded my land in Kentucky, my area in Kentucky, you bet I'd boot up, put on my boots and fight for my land. But I'm not going to fight for Ukraine. You dip for sure, LOL, says Irish Repub 84. Interesting. Very interesting call. I have more calls to get to, and like I said, I do want to get to this JD Vance thing and stuff. Let me get to Ramon, though, a first-time caller, not a first-time caller, out of California. Ramon, thank you for calling and holding there. What's up, man? Are you there?
Hello?
Hey.
Oh, hi.
Oh, it's good to hear from you, Ramon. What's up, man?
Oh, thanks. Good morning.
Morning.
I just had a question for you.
Cool. Let's hear it.
So I wanted to ask, who would you say should be like the ultimate authority over children, the parents or like society or the community as a whole?
The men in that area. It should be the parents. Ideally, it's the father. Ideally, it's the father. The father should be the ultimate authority. And
but like,
and I started to say men. Let me explain why I started to say men, because you do see crazy stuff that even the males, the men, are agreeing with. The men are agreeing with the women, but I still say the men should be in charge. The fathers, the child's father should be the ultimate authority. But then God should be the ultimate authority. Let's say the man is about to, like, hurt his son. Like, I don't know, turn the son transgender or something like that. I think that the men of the town should be like, oh, no, we don't do that. That's wrong. There's like a line that you don't cross. Like, and then their authority is God. Because the authorities are the authorities over all the people if they break the law. And I think that the transgender thing on the kids, if that's a law that we agree is right, we should enforce that law on, no, we don't do we don't put the puberty blockers on the children. That's wrong. So in that sense, that would be society, but that's God. You should rarely ever invoke God to usurp the authority of the father over his son and daughter. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, but it just it sounds like your final answer is the community, but the men of the community.
Right, I know. But I would say the community should mostly butt out and let the father deal with it and because the father's going to make some mistakes and errors, and he should be given that leeway because everybody else is given that leeway, and the society thinking that they're doing better, most of the time the society is a bunch of meddlers. So I think that I want to say even let the fathers transgender their kids, because for the most part, the fathers are not going to transgender their kids. You know what I mean? So let's say fathers and then God. It's mostly women who are doing it, and then the weak fathers who agree with the women will do it. It's definitely not society. Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of fathers are just gonna agree with the women.
I know.
What's his name, JOP? He always says for sex, right?
Right, and you know what?
Stuff like that.
That's what happens.
They'll always just agree with their wives.
But let's say somebody does turn transgender. It's not the end of the world. You're still alive. Oh yeah, I mean your physical life is messed up in a lot of ways. Can't have kids maybe and different things, and you've gone down the wrong road. But think about how we're twisted in so many different ways. Every single child, every single adult has been messed up by the messed up mother and the weak father, or whoever raised them, you know? So you should let those people raise them and only step in extreme obvious situations. All this child protective services is evil. You know what I mean? I say all of it. I don't know if it's all of it, but I say all of it in the sense that, by and large, CPS is evil. The government getting involved with people's families has been a net negative, I think. Does that make sense?
I mean, sort of. So, let's say I have a friend who's a single father, and he wants to transition his child. Should I respect his authority?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You should respect that that's his evil decision. Because what can you do? You can only hurt yourself. You can only hurt yourself by trying to get involved. You know what I mean? I mean, you can say your piece as long as you're in a place where you won't get fired or, I mean, is your job worth mentioning? If the Lord leads you to say something to your friend and to this, maybe even to the son or the child, then fine, but that's as far as it should go. Let people suffer. The children are always going to suffer from the parents. And it's not yours to step in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Because you'll only get in trouble with the law. They'll be like, or you'll alienate your friend even worse, which is fine. Does that make sense? I keep on asking that.
I mean, I've listened to your show over the years, and that's kind of a recurring theme you mentioned, or you said you've lost a lot of friends.
Right. But that was Yeah, I'm not patting myself on the back, nor am I patting my friends on the back for that situation. You know, I admit that I was wrong in a lot of those situations. I was desperate. I was demoralized. I was panicking at seeing the country slip away under Obama. And I was like, this gay stuff is not something to be proud to support. What are you guys talking about? Or these women voting is not a good idea. And I was like getting all aggressive out of nowhere on Facebook and sometimes in person. And sometimes I would get blocked right away. And it's better just to be quiet in that stuff because, you know, I didn't change anybody's mind. I mean, in some cases it was probably fine to have a little discussion. It was fun. But other times it's just ego, really, when it comes down to it. Like the Bible says, meaningless. Everything is vanity. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I think arguing is it's just a lot of it's just, oh, I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah. Do you actually know a father who's transgendering his son?
Well, I mean, it was their daughter, but it's already happened.
Oh, okay. Oh, damage is done. Not the damage is done.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, in the sense of the physical damage, the spiritual damage is kind of ongoing and ever developing and all that. But whew. So she's on the hormones. The good thing about girls is they can. Is that true?
I don't know if they're on the hormones part yet. It's just more like they dress like a boy and stuff now.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, maybe she should have just been a tom girl. You know how tom girls are just still girls and they're ladylike still when it comes down to it? In my opinion, yeah. I don't know this. I don't know these friends of yours, but I'm just giving an opinion not requested. I would leave it alone though. If has he asked you your opinion?
I mean, I said I wouldn't recommend the hormones, but I don't.
Oh, you told him that.
Like I don't like the hormones, but like I don't argue it. It was just like an initial comment, and it never came up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think it's not worth losing friends over.
Yeah, it's not even right. It would be one thing if it was right to do. Let's say you're led by the Spirit of God to say something, and then you lose a friend, that's fine. But most of the time, when I was doing it, I wasn't led by the Spirit of God, I don't think. I think I was led by panic and fear and pride and then self-righteousness, and then I liked to argue. And that's unwise. It's foolish. That's not Spirit-led, you know?
Yeah.
Are you upset about it? Are you bothered by it?
I mean, I'm not bothered by it.
Good.
I guess initially, like, I was.
Right. And that's a trap to be bothered by it. Because that's not the Spirit of God bothering you about it. It's just,
yeah, because I guess
it's a little disturbing.
You could,
it's a little disturbing, but you don't want to give in to that feeling. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, because I guess this is kind of like, some of it's also like, if it was my kid, I would not allow it. So it's just kind of like,
right.
I'm usurping their authority.
It's not usurping their authority to say, hey, if this was my kid, I wouldn't allow it. It's not right. And then just leave it at that. Even if let's say he starts to argue with you or puff up about it, or he changes, he gets tense about it, just let him, don't try to press the matter further. Because that's not usurping his authority, just let him know, hey, this is wrong.
Yeah.
If he bristles, then you show him respect. Because people have even though they're wrong, they have a right to be wrong. Let's say anger is wrong. He gets angry at you. You don't say, "Oh, you don't have a right to be angry." You let him be angry.
It kind of sounds like two wrongs don't make a right, actually.
Right. Because you're wronging him by imposing on him if you start to impose on him.
Yeah, I'll take your advice to heart.
Right on, man. Definitely do what you want. Do what you see to do. Because you're in the situation. Well, it sounds like you're not even necessarily in the situation, but it's your friend and you know him and you know yourself. So definitely do what you see. Or don't do anything if you're not sure.
Yeah.
That's really great advice is when in doubt, don't do anything. I mean, you see that you have to go to work, so you go to work. You know that you have to get some food in your stomach, so you eat. You know you get to get some exercise, but
yeah, just let the world be.
Yeah.
It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, I like hearing from you, man. Appreciate you, man. Ramon.
All right, take care.
Yeah, you as well. Bye. By the way, guys, ladies, there is a women's forum. It's third Thursday of the month. I have been remiss in my duties to announce the women's forum. I'm supposed to be announcing the women's forum. Third Thursday of the month, 7 p.m. at Bond in Los Angeles. Sorry, guys. Not sorry, but forgive me. Shout out to Ramon. For some reason, it reminded me. Ramon in California. Cool. So, ladies, make sure you do join. Shout out to Jonathan in the Facebook crew. Hey, use hiring? I don't know. Just contact the office. I guess you can email producer@jesseleepeterson.com with one pager if there's something that you're interested in, or call the office 323-782-1980, 1-323-782-1980. Let's see if I can put that in. 1-800-411-BOND. There's counseling, by the way, guys and gals. 1-800-411-2663. I would like to read a few super chats before I get back to calls and stories. I will get to them, guys. Joel Friday will be live here soon, in like an hour and 15 minutes or less. Let me see if he's set, if he's scheduled. I kind of doubt it because it's usually not set this early. Okay. But yeah, check out Joel Friday TV. Did you catch Punchy.tv? Or I mean Punchy TV? Different from Punchy.tv. I'm chuckling because there's a rumor going around that Hake only dates Asians. And that's not true. Caucasians. But whatever. Okay. Yeah, check out Punchy TV. I don't know if I have that here. Nope. Punchy TV on YouTube. There was a nice premiere of an episode. Check it out. Okay, over on buymeacoffee.com/The Hake Report. You know what? I would like to take this over to here. Because it's fun. It's fun to show you guys the coffees, and hopefully you guys kept your coffees clean and pithy. Buymeacoffee.com/The Hake Report. And yes, Popcorn Stump Keg. I saw that. The Z one bought 3 coffees. Hang on. Boom, bing. Here's Hake. The Z one, 3 coffees, right? Isn't that 3? Does that say 3? Hang on. And writes, yeah, 3 coffees. You can call me something or the something. something can never respond to me appropriately. Oh, Mark can never respond to me appropriately when I say how racist, evil, and downright dirty he is. I do agree with him about Jaime. He has to be unemployed. Jaime is not necessarily unemployed. A lot of people, whatever. Great call from Galahad. It's Galahad. You are such an emotional, angry person, the Z one says. I'll call him Z. Doesn't that go against your master, what your master? You saying I'm a white slave with a black master? Jesse preaches, indeed, it is evil to be emotional. It does indeed. You start talking over people, putting us on hold, or name calling when you lose your battles. Oh no, when I'm name calling, I'm winning. How are you doing otherwise? Fine, thank you. And Hayden, it's Haden, no Y in Hayden. Grow up because you sound like a boop every time you call. It's a donkey, okay? It's a donkey. What happened to Nick? I personally liked the old time slot, the American Anchor Baby, and it looks like from the drop of the viewers, I'm not the only one. Well, buddy, it's a different situation. I will be showing my support when you appear on Kaz. That's right, Atheist Edge. I also may be on Hippy Dippy Roundtable this Friday. Is this Friday the 16th? Yeah, I think I'm going to be on the Hippy Dippy Roundtable. The Hippy Dippy Roundtable is coming back with Dylan Burns. Shout out to Dylan Burns. And then I will be on Atheist Edge come Sunday the 18th. I shall hopefully put those in the hakereport.com/appearances when I find out. I might even send you another super chat during the show. So give me a wave in the chat. James, you have a rotted soul and the devil's spirit. I something every time I hear you. And I'm sure you do the same for me. Bye. Many, many, many thumbs down emojis. Well, thank you. That's very kind. The Z one. Danimal bought 3 coffees. Hake, a late birthday super chat. Appreciate your show, man. Appreciate you, Danimal. Thanks as always for the support. And no problem. My birthday is always in season. Terrible. And another super chat from Popcorn Stump Keg over here. See, look, the instructions. Thanks for your super chat, coffee, donation messages. Keep them clean and pithy. I'll read them on air, thehakereport.com. By the way, Hake also offers cameos, personal video shout-outs. But as well as generous I am with the coffee attention, you can just buy me a coffee. Anyway, I want to get your opinion on my coffee to JLP, says Popcorn Stump Keg. Did you think any aspect of my question was unclear or confusing? Not to me personally, but I understood his confusion. Jesse tried to, maybe unintentionally, muddy the water by asking how his lawsuit related to the civil rights movement. But I never mentioned the civil rights movement. You stepped in to explain it away for Jesse, and he seemed to go, you trying to answer his unclear question? If you read my coffee and if you read my coffee in its entirety, what about it is unclear, he asks. If you file a civil rights lawsuit, you either believe that your civil rights were violated, or you're pretending to believe that for the sake of a lawsuit, which is what you decry people from doing when they file suits against police departments for money. If you think the gym should have the right to discriminate and you still file a civil rights lawsuit while at the same time saying no such thing as civil rights, that's a bit like scolding people probably, for shaking a tree and scooping up the fruit, but then you scurry in with your bucket and pick up some fruit too. You're letting them do the work and then reaping the benefits. What are your thoughts in general? I don't think that there's any issue with holding people to the standard that they set and that they agree with. The company policy, I bet you, does not support any discrimination based on politics, political affiliation, or support of some candidate or other. They don't agree with that type of discrimination, and so you hold them to their own standard. And since you have a culture where they're going after the whites and the Christians for quote-unquote discrimination. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. It's not saying, oh, you violated my civil rights. You might say that just to, it's kind of like JLP will often say, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. He'll use the women words against them. You know how the women will say, I don't feel safe. Or it's kind of like Brother Dean Saxton will say, Brother Dean Saxton is a street preacher, open air preacher, something like that. He's been on the Jason Lee Peterson show. He's like, you're so intolerant. It's using the enemy's words against them. The communists do it. They try to hold you to your own standard, which they don't even really believe in your standard. And so why cannot children of God hold the children of the devil to the devil's standard? Indeed. So no, it's not lying. You could say it's trolling a bit, but it is definitely, since we have this anti-discrimination stuff, you better enforce your own rules. Right? Right. Like there are many whites who are filing anti-discrimination lawsuits, and many men are doing it, and they're winning, and good for them. Don't let it get into your soul. Don't be one of those losers who's like, oh, I can't live because I'm a white, or I'm a man, or I'm a incel. That's a can't-do attitude. Always have a can-do attitude. I don't feel safe is not not man words, okay, Hake? That's right, it's not man words. I don't feel safe. You're harassing me. We use all these woman words. Harassing is a woman word. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, but it was an intellectual question. And that's why I confused him, because he's talking about there's no such thing as civil rights. And then he's like, oh, you're discriminating against me because he's like, you support, you Trump supporters. Oh, so that's what this is about. Because what the story was, JLP was in the janitor area doing a little phone call, kind of off to the side, having an interview. And then this person came up to him and was like, yeah. And Jason's like, no, get out of my face. But he used some authority words. Go back and check it out. We talked about it several years ago, or he talked about it several years ago. And that's all ironed out. Nice. Okay. We are approaching the top of the hour, guys. Oh, Jaime from Minnesota bought a coffee. My bag. Here, let me do this. See if this works. Oh, lowered. Hang on. Jaime bought a coffee saying, come on. Come on. Got to kiss the girl. Come on. You got to kiss the girl. Don't kiss girls, kids. Jaime from Minnesota. I can't make it show up. Here, let's do this. Command R doesn't control R. Oh, probably because it's hidden. Hey, when are you coming out with a book like J.D. Vance? Interesting question, Jaime. Interesting question. Oh, I probably don't see it because I saw another super chat come in from Popcorn Stump Keg, and so I thought it was the old one. Oh, yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's there. Oh, no, it's not there. What's going on in the kitchen? But I don't know what's cooking. Maybe it's just, hold on. Never mind. It's not important. But I see the coffees. Good thing I see it. Why is it not loading? That's obnoxious. Yeah, it's strange. Okay, well, I'm seeing the coffees. Never mind. Cancel. Boom. Lowered. What a mess. Okay. Popcorn Some Cake says, sounds like you're saying that since anti-discrimination laws are on the books, they should be enforced? ? So to be clear, you have no issue with them being enforced? ? Should they be enforced or shouldn't they? They should be abolished, I say. They should be enforced for the good, but not for the evil. They should be enforced for the good, but not for the evil. And right now, they're enforced for evil. Right? Right. But it ended up not having anything to do with anything. Oh, thank you, Carver. Found Jaime's coffee on my Twitter, on X. Oh, I don't know when I'm coming out with a book. I don't know if I'm coming out with a book. But thank you for the question. Jaime from Minnesota. It would be great if they were not enforced. If they were universally not enforced, this is such an interesting question. If they were not enforced, I would for them not being enforced. But if they were enforced one-sided against whites and against Christians, they're just violating the rights of the whites and the Christians to discriminate, then it should be enforced equally on everybody and be fair. And then we should work to get rid of these evil laws. And spread the good news that discrimination is a basic right that's being violated by the evil government, which is against the people, including the people for whom they're pretending to stand up for. The people for whom they're pretending to support or stand. Because they're pretending. They don't actually have any love for the blacks, for the women, for the gays, for the LGBTs. Or I already put that in the G's. But they don't have any love for the aliens, the Muslims, or anybody. These laws are evil mama spirit. So use their stupid laws against them. Yeah, no, they definitely shouldn't be enforced. It's kind of like the Black Lives Matter riots versus the January 6th situation. I would be perfectly fine with Ashley Babbitt getting what happened to her had that been already happening, and it wouldn't have happened to her had that already been happening and the norm with the Black Lives Matter riots. But no, the Black Lives Matter rioters were allowed to get away with all kinds of madness. And Ashley Babbitt did something a little mad. She jumped through a broken window where she knew that she wasn't supposed to go. And she got killed breaching that window by that guy who should probably not be a Capitol Police officer, in my opinion. Had that already been happening, had that already been the norm, I'd be fine with what happened to her, because she would have known that that's what happens to rioters who breach places where they're not supposed to be. Yeah, what a mess. So the laws are enforced a little bit disproportionately against whites, Christians, Trump supporters, and it's not good. And men. Yeah, it's not there is no equal justice under the law in America. Probably less so today than ever, because we have a very unchristian and evil and mama spirit culture that, like Trump has said, it favors the criminals and not the victims, nor the police. Elon Musk and Trump had their conversation yesterday, and I heard a quote, or I saw a quote shared by somebody on X, that it favors the criminals and feels sorry for the criminals more than for the victims. And there's also a lack of empathy towards police. I've been thinking about this because the police are getting in big trouble. a lot of the time, even when they're not even necessarily doing much wrong or even anything wrong, you know? But the more out of control the criminal element gets, or the blacks get, say, the more perfect the cops are expected to be. They're fighting with the cops, they're running from the cops, and the cops can't do hardly anything. They're getting their hands tied behind their backs. They're not. Back in the 70s, they were allowed to shoot a fleeing victim. Now they can't because the Supreme Court ruled. Maybe that's a good rule. I don't know. It might be good. But now it's being enforced in perhaps unfair ways. It's definitely being attacked. Police definitely under attack. And I was thinking with these riots and all these things, the more out of control that the government and the evil aspect of the POCs get, the more perfect the whites are expected to be. And so they should be. The Bible says to the Christians, be blameless. So definitely be blameless. Be perfect. Be above reproach. I'm talking about the whites over in the UK, our English brothers, some of them are rioting. I don't know, I guess. I haven't really looked into it, who's doing what. But according to reports, they're so-called far-right rioting. You're held to a higher standard. The Christians are held to a higher standard. Men are held to a higher standard, and fine. And for some reason, the whites are held to a higher standard. So hold up that standard. Hold up the right standard, and at least you'll be more protected for sure. That's what I say. Nice. Thank you, Popcorn's Thump Cake. Super. To me, it's pretty interesting. JLP doesn't get you. You're intellectual. And it's hard to communicate with intellectuals when you're a simple man. But you can sometimes cut through the crap. Sorry, kids. Don't say that word. Okay. Let's get back to calls, guys. I got to get back to calls. HADEN was mentioned, and so I feel I have a duty to allow him to speak his piece. How you doing, HADEN in Texas? Good to hear from you.
How you doing, Hake? People are upset with us today, aren't they?
Yeah, indeed.
They're so stuck in they're so far down in a false reality that they have no idea how to handle themselves. And you know what? You said it perfectly, that they'll have to suffer, and ultimately God's going to take care of them. God's going to take care of those.
Right.
You have in the chat.
Yup, that's true. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
I wanted to clear up something I said yesterday. I brought up that tweet about that Elon posted about those two white guys and that one immigrant in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me read that really quick. He the post actually said, and I apologize for getting this wrong. I read the wrong post.
Oh, okay.
But two white guys were arrested. One of them posted a racist comment on Facebook, and he got 15 weeks in jail.
Wow.
The other white sold anti-immigration stickers, and he got 24 months in prison. And the immigrant repeatedly raped a 12-year-old girl and got 180 community hours and no prison time. That's the official one. I got the times wrong. I said the two white guys got like 15 years or something like that.
Right.
That was completely wrong. I apologize for getting that wrong on my part. That was my bad.
Oh, okay. No worries. Thank you for the correction. Thank you for correcting the record there. We like to get it right.
Exactly.
We are white. We like to get it right.
You're right.
And JLP does too. Like he wants to get accurate info. That's why he always says allegedly, because we don't.
Right,
we're just going based off of reports. Really, we weren't there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also wanted to say about the I also wanted to add to what that Guatemalan guy or whatever said yesterday. The caller before me.
Galahad. Yeah.
Hold on one second. I'm pulling it up. Oh yeah, he wanted to make it seem like that you were just basing the blacks based off of their color or colored people based off of their color.
Right.
And the biggest lie in the past 65 years has been that we judge them by the basis of their color and not the content of the character.
No.
And look at the content of their character today. I mean, they are literally blowing up every major city in this country.
Right.
And that has nothing to do with color. It is the content of their character.
Exactly.
So they say that just to make the white liberals feel all sad and give them all these rights and freedoms and stuff. And it is the biggest lie from the pit of hell.
Yeah, it's true. It's funny because I was thinking about his call just this morning, because it was baffling to me that he could listen to what I said, talking about how blacks are raised by their parents pushing the fake racism nonsense, their pastors, the government, the media, the schools pushing this fake racism nonsense, so they're brainwashed. And then he tries to bring up, the Nazi people, the Nazi supporters were brainwashed too. And it's a human thing. Yeah. I didn't say that it wasn't a human nature thing. Human nature is evil. Right. But he doesn't want me to point out that the blacks are that way. And it's today, right now, the blacks have it bad, and they're identifying with their blackiosity, their blackness. And if they feel their identity is under attack, it is, because it's not a real identity. They are identifying with the devil.
Exactly right.
The lies of the devil. Yeah.
You're exactly right. But before I get to what I wanted to call for, I want to make this slide. I've said it twice on your show.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake this country has made is, and I forgot one point, the biggest mistake this country has ever made was immigration, integration, and giving women the right to vote, as well as the colored people. They all did not have the right to vote 65 years ago. But all of a sudden now we're in the worst spot that we've ever been in our country's history because of those very reasons I pointed out.
Did you know that there were blacks voting? Like some of them were owning land, and they were voting even before the so-called civil rights movement.
Well, very, very few.
Yeah, and some of it was already subversive. A lot of times some of them were holding office, and they were like illiterate, I heard. Some of them were illiterate but holding office. And there was a great speech by Booker T. Washington in 1895, I think. We mentioned it last week about it shouldn't be too strange for you that blacks getting their freedom and being all naive. They're trying to aim for the stars and be politicians and in the top of the world. Kind of like what I mentioned, how they want to be basketball stars. They want to be rap stars. They want to be movie stars. Yeah, it's all ego, but it's not, because they could easily be working men starting at the bottom of life and not at the quote unquote top of life. But no, they swallowed the appeal to the ego from the carpetbaggers and Northerners. What a mess.
Yeah, I mean, they aspire to be politicians and all this garbage and stuff, but they end up corrupting every system. I mean, look at all the major cities in America. Chicago's on fire. Minnesota. I mean, they're the majority. They're the majority race in D.C. And look how corrupt D.C.
Right, I know.
The majority in Atlanta.
It's so common to see that corruption. You remember that one in Detroit? And
yes.
There was a D.C. mayor who was probably corrupt. I mean, they're so shameless. It's not good.
Yeah, they aspire to be all these politicians and stuff, and they end up just being DEI high. I mean, look at Obama and Harris. I mean, Harris is undisputed DEI hire. But anyway.
According to Biden himself, he mentioned diversity, equity, and inclusion in the same paragraph or second paragraph. He's like, that's why we got this VP, black woman.
You're exactly right. That is the only reason why he chose her. And she called him a racist on stage during the Democrat debate.
Yeah. She's so phony about that.
I know.
Politics.
She's so fake. But what I wanted to get to was, I honestly, I've heard mixed things about this person. Very few good, but mostly bad. I want to know what is your interpretation, how do you view? And again, I truly don't know. I truly don't know. I'm asking you because you seem like you would be a good source for me to ask this about. How do you view Adolf Hitler? Like, how do you see him?
I don't even know what to think. I think that he was probably angry at what went down in World War I. He sounded like he was very nationalist and passionate. I heard a story of him beating up a guy, kind of like Mark would probably beat up Hake because he was not sufficiently patriotic or something. He was very brave in war, I heard. And so he, because he had that passion and drive, he was kind of like an Alex Jones. Alex Jones might hate me saying this. Shout out to my competitor. But Alex Jones, you know how Alex Jones is very passionate in his expressions of himself. And some of it is just putting on a show. And so he's very effective at putting on a show that even if it's a true show or a false show, I don't know. There was, in that anger, he probably believed some lies and was misguided in those things. And he ended up losing the war and dying. And now Germany is arguably worse off because of the backlash over all that happened. And he probably did some of those evil things that they're saying that he did. And so I would say that it's kind of like what I've mentioned before, and I've heard it before from others, the whites today, you're right in your criticisms of communism and of the anti-white stuff and the anti-Christian stuff. You're right in your complaints, but don't be angry about it. Because anger is the lie that they'll point to you and say, oh, see, you're this evil person, and they'll justify their further clamping down on the whites.
Right.
So if you stay away from that anger, then you will be more... If you stay away from emotion and passion and excitement and pride, then you'll be more sane and wise in how you go about things. And you'll also be able to love your enemies and love your fellow man, not hate him, because when you hate him, you lose. Right. And that's what happened to Hitler. He lost. And that's what happened to poor Germany. They lost so bad. It's kind of like what happened to Japan. Look at what's happened to Japan. I heard Japan did some wrong things maybe to the Chinese, rapes and stuff. Yeah. And now Japan can barely even have a country. They can't even have a military, and their men are turning into women just like the rest of the West.
Yep, you just had a caller talking about that too.
Yeah. So I've never really looked into him, but just based on what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah. So he most likely, he probably did kill Jews.
Yeah.
Is it true that he was strictly for blonde hair, blue eyes?
That part I don't know. I know that was mentioned in school, but even when I learned it in school, it wasn't like it was strictly that. It's just that was unique, and those are recessive genes, I think, and so it shouldn't be something that's... It didn't even talk about mixing. It just talked about, hey, everybody likes that. I mean, a lot of people like that, especially like the POCs like that. I didn't even. They're
so for that.
Yeah, and I'm not even that into that. Like, I didn't grow up around people like that. So like, I'm like, okay, cool. I noticed that a lot of movie stars and people are blue-eyed, and I don't know hardly anybody who has blue eyes. But anyway,
you're talking to a blue-eyed person right now.
Right on, man. I did ask a question on a video that I recorded. You ever met a blue-eyed person whom you trust? But I'm not implying that you can trust anybody with any eyes.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're
exactly right. But the thing about the thing about Hitler, and then you got Dylann Roof too.
Yeah.
I like their vision about preserving the white race. Dylann Roof too, and praise God he's still alive. I don't believe he deserved death, but I love their vision about preserving the white race at all costs and stuff. But I think the right way is to just push all these, America haters out of the country. Don't kill them, but like just push them out. If they hate America so much, push them out. They shouldn't be here anyways. The anti-America, anti-white people. I'm not for the whole, like killing Jews and killing blacks and all that stuff. I'm not for that.
Yeah, that's so counterproductive.
Right.
You have to work with people. I like Trump's.
Right, yeah.
I like Trump's way. I don't really agree with Trump being anti-racist and all that stuff, but he's a boomer, so I don't. It's fine. But Trump's way is
he really has to say that first,
right. I know for politics' sake, you have to say it.
Yeah.
Whether he believes it or not is who knows. But I think he truly loves all people and he works with people. And Booker T. Washington too. He's like, hey, you blacks, you better work with these whites, and whites, if you know what's good for you, like it's good to work with these blacks too. Work with your neighbors, and then you can live socially separate. But since these are the people around you, you got to work with them. I mean, it's best for your own life to work with them, and then they will be your friends rather than your enemies when something hits the fan. When it hits the fan.
Right.
So
Go ahead.
I don't even know if we'll ever get to be able to push anybody out. The best chance is to do it slowly, like how the communists did evil slowly. We do it patiently, and Trump deports the illegals who definitely shouldn't be here, and then and then more people will start to assimilate once society's working again, because the economy is a big thing. Trump once asked a wise question: what do people really want? They want a good job, get along with their life, safety, and be able to take care of their family in peace and freedom. And the best way to do that is with peace and with an economy that's free, where you're free to succeed. You're not taxed for succeeding. You're not taxed more when you make more money, stuff like that.
Exactly right. Because I mean, you have Africa, that's a predominantly African country. You got Asia, Japan, China, all these places.
Yeah.
All these places are predominantly their race. America, it's still, praise the Lord, that it's still predominantly white country. But I mean, that's the reason. That's the reason God created. I mean, like that's the purpose of this world, is to have your predominantly race country, and this whole race mixing thing.
Right.
I mean, it hasn't worked for 65 years. It's never going to work.
Right.
It's never going to work.
Ever. I read a little Substack post by somebody who was on my show before, who said that this mixing, the interracial relationships and marriages and children are going to increase racism, and it probably already is. And,
oh my gosh, yes.
And so it's interesting that all these different solutions that people come up with are so counterproductive to their ends.
Right.
So we'll see what happens, but I encourage you and everybody to just stay away from, stay wise with your words and how you act with people.
Yeah. Exactly.
Interesting call, man. I'm glad that you asked that. I will say one last thing about the Hitler thing. The people who promote him the most are the angriest. They're like dysfunctional. And it's like they've so demoralized that they don't even want to, they don't care anymore. They don't want to get along with anybody anymore. And I understand that frustration, but that comes from anger, and anger is going to make your own life dysfunctional. So I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I've heard, other people kind of, when you get to them into a serious point, they may talk sober-minded about him, but these people promoting him and talking about, oh, he was right and all that stuff, that comes from anger. Even if they believe what they're saying, it still comes from anger, which is counterproductive to themselves and to society.
You're exactly right. Can I make one more comment, Hake?
Yeah.
I apologize. I don't want to take too much of your time, but the colored races, they compare the police ICE, whoever they can to like you heard Kamala Harris say the KKK. I mean, they compare all those
Right. I know.
heroes like to the KKK.
Yeah.
Like that case in Illinois. I'm sure you heard of the pot situation with Sean Grayson, the cop.
Oh yes, right. The hot water shooting.
Yeah.
Yep.
All you hear is the blacks, try to dissect the whole. Oh, I didn't see her throw the pot. I didn't see her do this and that. She threw the. I mean, you just have to watch it with your own eyes to see she threw the pot, and they're trying to justify her doing that. And then as soon as you got them on the point that she did throw the pot, they say, oh well, you know all this stuff about us being segregated. We just sit in the back of the bus and stuff. That's
right.
That's what it's all about. They don't care about whether she threw the pot or not. They just want to see Sean Grayson thrown in prison because he's white. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's true.
I can give you the name of the person that said that himself. I'm not going to do it because
Good.
For the sake of your show.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what it's all about. They don't care about justice at all. They just want to see Sean Grayson thrown in prison for his race. That's it.
Right.
That's all it's about.
Interesting, man.
Yeah.
Great point. That's a true statement.
What a great call, Hake. And I'm sure we'll get a lot of backlash from your hell pit in the chat.
Indeed. Take care, Hayden. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, see you, Hake.
Bye. Hake, did she throw the pot? I don't know if she threw it. I didn't look that closely to where I saw that she threw it. But according to Big Bump, and according to Big Bump is pretty objective, and he seemed to think that she kind of threw the pot. That's a Frederick in L.A. asking if she threw the pot. What a mess. What a mess. What an unfortunate, I guess it's sort of an unfortunate situation between that cop and that woman. Rest in peace to that woman, and chin up king to that cop. It sounds like you messed up, maybe. Overboard. And you're going to get disproportionately slammed over it. You know what I mean? Shout out to Jaime in Minnesota and Popcorn Stump Cake. Thank you again for those questions. Hope I did them justice. Joe in Phoenix, Arizona. Been on hold for a long time here. Thank you for calling and holding there, Joe. How you doing, man?
Good morning, James. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, thank you.
My goodness, Hayden. I'll simply ask, Hayden, have you ever seen a successful far-right extremist in life? Probably not.
Interesting point. Interesting point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point, I think. They're not, they don't end up successful. And I think that's you can blame society punishes people for their opinions, yes, but if they're knowing that, you should be able to be wiser with how you are. And
yes.
Yeah.
As far as Hitler and blonde hair and blue eyes, he's on record as saying the reason he didn't procreate is because he had brown eyes and black hair.
Oh, really? I thought he didn't have a son or anything?
He did not.
And so so according to Joe in Phoenix, and I have not independently verified, that's what he said, huh? On record.
That's what he said, yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he was fairly let me argue with you from the perspective, because I have heard them say that Germany was doing quite well leading up to the World War II. Like he had Germany functioning again. Is that true or false?
No.
Was it gaining?
Well, the whole reason World War II happened, James, is because Germany, coming out of World War I, the Treaty of Versailles, Germany was hit with very, very harsh restrictions on them.
Right.
And it led to some terrible economic conditions. So Hitler was able to rise because he was promising to restore Germany to glory.
Uh-huh. And was there, in any sense, did that happen? Be fair now. Be fair-minded now.
You're asking me to give some kind of recognition to Hitler. That's a tough one. He did do a lot of public works projects, like the Autobahn, Joy Through Strength, and some other public works that did put people back to work. I'll say that and leave it at that.
Joy Through Strength, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Or
so
Strength Through Joy. I got it backwards there. Strength Through Joy.
what's that program? I don't know if I recognize that.
It was a program where the average German could take vacations and relax with their families, and it was kind of like a public subsidized vacation program.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so Germany was sort of on the upswing because he imposed this socialist, nationalist stuff.
There was a lot of
Well, I don't know if it's
public work,
because,
yeah.
but he imposed it, and people's morale got boosted. They were working. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So there was some success there. So they were on the upswing. So in that sense, they were successful up until they went too far or whatever, or they got on the bad side of the Allies, let's say, and got smacked down and got worse.
Well, yeah. All right. So the latest example of the Himmler mindset, Jack.
Oh, I gotta get my
Dallas
snake puppet out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Dallas, Clayton, Stevens up there in Tacoma, Washington.
You're gonna make me type and search something when I just put my hand inside of this snake puppet. Dallas, say again?
Dallas, Clayton, Stevens.
Is this another white on black crime or something like that?
Absolutely.
Dallas, Clayton, what a cool name, Clayton. Stevens, with a PH or VEN?
D-E-N.
Whoa, VENS, huh? Dallas, Clayton, Stevens, man charged with a hate crime in a pot shop. That's not a normal white. In Tacoma, was the victim of a hate. What the heck? This is a man charged with hate crime in attempted murder at pot shop, June 14th, 2024. So he did not succeed. I wonder if he hurt the guy. 31-year-old man shot a black employee outside a popular Tacoma pot shop in a so-called racially motivated murder case. Oh, my computer's freezing up. Hang on. Attempted murder case, that is. And suspect's cell phone searches have deputies concerned about what more he might have been planning. Behind bars with a $250,000 bond, charged with second-degree attempted murder, first-degree assault, possession of a dangerous weapon, and a hate crime. I think they should nix the hate crime part of it. He pulled up at the Zips Cannabis pot shop in Tacoma. Pot smokers, man. That's that pot rage. It's not racism, man. But anyway, you're pointing out white crime, white on black. 27-year-old victim is black. Victim was hit in the stomach. Now he has to use tubes to eat and use the bathroom. Oh, man. Oof. It was uncalled for. There was nothing that was going on that caused the employee to do something to upset him, so said Sergeant Darren Moss. We're very concerned. Prosecutor believes possibly motivated by race or skin color, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what's the point of this?
Yeah. Just another example of the Himmler mindset. That's all.
But you're using to catch people up. You're saying Himmler was a World War II Nazi guy, right?
He was indeed.
And you're using this, but it's not really. To me, it's not really fair to try to. And you're using Himmler as a name to smear my friend and your friend, Mark from Los Angeles.
My friend.
Right. Because he's your fellow Christian. You have no evidence of him having been ever even committed a crime. He did say one time he almost got in a fight, but a lot of people have almost gotten into fights. They're just angry. But he's into the white thing, and so you're thinking that this guy is allegedly, possibly into the white thing, and so that's the same mindset.
Well, yeah, I mean, HADEN just mentioned that how Chicago's on fire, which it's not. But HADEN, according to Homeland Security and DOJ, far-right extremist groups, like the ones sounds like you're part of, they're the top domestic terrorist threat, HADEN. So
wait. Did you accuse
your people
HADEN?
are the problem.
Did you accuse HADEN of being part of a far-right terrorist group?
Let me be clear. It said it sounds like the groups that he hangs out with. I don't know for sure. It sounds like it from what he's described.
But you're making an assumption. That's not. You shouldn't go by sounds like. Because let's say he hangs out with whites. I don't know, but let's say, just because he hangs out with whites doesn't make it sound like it's a far right terrorist group. That's you're profiling.
The idea is he's been spouting, and his fascination with Hitler, he's brought it up multiple times now.
He hasn't brought up Hitler multiple times.
Sounds like I've heard him say it at least twice.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that you're over interested in this white hate thing. You're conjuring the boogeyman. You're making it into a reality when it doesn't have to be a reality. You and your ilk, you and your DOJ and Homeland Security, you guys are making it happen.
They disagree with you, Hake.
No, they don't. Of course they disagree, because they're not going to be honest.
I would say you're not being honest.
Oh, no, I'm honest.
But going over
didn't I make a great point? Didn't I make a great point with HADEN talking about avoiding the anger? Because that's where Hitler went wrong, was the anger.
Hitler went wrong in a whole lot of places, James. I mean,
the main part where he went wrong is in anger. If he didn't have the anger, he wouldn't have murdered or gone to war necessarily, probably, or anything.
People forget that he killed over 20 million Germans also with his terrible decision-making. I mean, don't invade Russia in winter. That's just a boneheaded mistake.
Yeah, the Russians killed a lot of people trying to kill the Nazis, too. What a mess.
Yep.
The World War II was evil, I think. I don't know what good came out of it.
Oh, my goodness, we agree on that, actually.
Yeah, terrible. Anyway, thank you for your anti-white propaganda.
Anti-white, I'm just listing facts. You said it's anti-white. Okay, in London, the English Defense League, the white guys you're talking about, you saw that they also attacked cops, they burned cars, they attacked a mosque. That's anger, Jay.
If true, shame on them. Exactly. That's why. Remember what I said earlier this show? The more out of control the migrants and the government and whoever gets, the more perfect the whites have to be and should be.
But you know who I blame too, James? I mean, the article I read said there was a couple of men who were stabbed and slashed but not killed. How could you call yourself a man and be in that building and allow some crazy 17-year-old kid to kill little girls?
Oh, you're talking about the crime itself of that guy who stabbed the little girls.
Correct.
I'll tell you one thing. Somebody with a knife, you don't know what's happening before it's already happened. Remember that Apple River stabbing by that foreigner guy who was forced possibly to stab those teenagers who were out of control, who were coming after him?
You wouldn't notice if someone came into a building where you were with a knife and started killing the little girls, you wouldn't notice that, James?
Not necessarily. If because the stabbing is quiet and he might have concealed the knife, I don't know if I would notice. It's not like it's a loud gun going off. You don't know. Oops.
I'm pretty sure a little girl would scream when she's being stabbed.
Maybe, but sometimes you get stabbed before you know it, you know? There's been people who've been, sorry, kids, and faint of heart, but there's been people who've gotten it in their back, right? And he thought that he was getting slapped in the back or punched in the back. You don't realize what's happening until it's some moments later.
Well, my point is, as a father, when I was ready to have kids, I knew I had to be an entrepreneur and in charge of my own schedule. That's why when my kids were in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts or playing sports, I was the dad there always, doing the coaching and the leading. I was always present.
Nice. You were there to protect your children.
100%. And if somebody came in with a knife, that person would have been dead before they could have taken 2 steps.
Nice. That's cool.
It actually somewhat happened to me when my daughter was 12 or 13. Her and some friends wanted to go to a mall, and this mall had a very bad reputation for crime. And I said, well, you can go, but only if I come with you, and I'll hang back. And sure enough, there was this one store they wanted to go to that had, preteen clothes for girls that they liked. And, I let the 3 of them kind of hang out and do their preteen girl thing with clothes shopping. And I was just standing back and watching. And sure enough, there were these 2 guys that were circling them in ever-closing rings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they had bad intention in mind, but it certainly looked shady to me.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was walk over near my daughter and her friends, and those guys scattered quickly.
Nice. You definitely should. You may be right. I have no idea of the situation. I don't know what the situation was. People are saying, "Oh, I'm defending sickos." I'm not defending sickos. But yeah, come on, man. Says Hake doesn't notice screaming and stabbing. It's good to be aware of your surroundings. Definitely be aware. A lot of people are not aware, and it's good to be a man and a man should be strong. A man should strengthen himself and be ready to be brave when you need to, for sure. And there is your people, you establishment types have been part of the feminization of America. The rhinos, the demon rats. That's why they hate Trump so much, because he's a man who wants to protect America.
70% of Americans are now overweight or obese.
Right.
How are you going to be a dad and you can't even protect your family?
Indeed.
It's ridiculous.
Fair points.
I blame those 2 men that were stabbed. You should have been willing to give your life for those 3 little girls and not let that guy stop them. Period. I mean, the real blame goes to the sicko who stabbed the girl.
Right.
The father should have been there to be that human shield for those little girls. Period.
I'll tell you what. I haven't even looked into how the incident went down. How he ventured into the building. I don't even know what kind of knife this guy had. But interesting, man.
From what I read, the sicko took a cab there and then didn't pay for the cab and was arguing in the parking lot with the cab driver and creating a scene.
Yeah.
Before he even came in. So that should have been enough to alert the men in that building that there was a problem.
Fair point. People aren't aware.
Anyway.
Got to keep your wits about you.
Exactly. Hey, we agreed. I'm in, so I'll leave it at that. Have a good day, James.
All right, you too, Joe in Phoenix, Arizona. Interesting call about that London stabbing. Whatever, Lincoln Lewis. Lincoln Lewis over here. I shouldn't even repeat what he says. LOL, lots of laughs. Hake is super effeminate. So it's so ironic when him and Jesse talk about Trump, like women gushing over a Trump. LOL. Lots of laughs out loud. Whatever, man. I'm a man. Okay, let's see what I can cover. They're going after J.D. Vance, if you don't know. That's another man. And, oh, what in the world? Hang on. That's interesting. Oh, there we go. Nice. Whew. Okay. So they're going after J.D. Vance, and they're going after the men, speaking of England. So let me tell you about, terrible. So down over here on Commie Nonsense website, they're playing like J.D. Vance is a horrible businessman to work for. This is from the Morning Updates page. It was a nightmare that should never have happened. Oh, should have never happened. Sounds sort of like a split infinitive, even though it's not an infinitive. That's a former worker at AppHarvest, alleging he endured nightmare conditions at the indoor agriculture company that J.D. Vance helped to fund. Oh, so he wasn't even the boss. Companies are sometimes nightmares to work for. Employees said, you should have seen me at my old job. Employees said they were forced to work in grueling conditions inside the company's Kentucky greenhouse. Well, a greenhouse does get hot. That's why it's called a greenhouse. A greenhouse is like windows and then lets the sun in and then it keeps the place hot. Temperatures often soared into triple digits, meaning hundreds. Their stories paint a picture of a grim job experience for many of the working class, quote unquote, Kentuckians that Donald Trump's running mate has vowed to help. And so how much of that did J.D. Vance even know about? Because he invested in this company. How involved was he? I don't know. But that's Commie Nonsense Network. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, I can't count. 4, Allison Gordon, 2 of them women, not reliable witnesses. Kurt Devine and a male liberal, Daniel Medina. I'm profiling them as liberals. I don't know if they're liberals. Writing this hit piece smearing J.D. Vance. As a venture capitalist, he repeatedly touted his guiding principles for investing in a company. Should not only turn a profit, should help American communities. So he invested in AppHarvest, a startup that blah, 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 blah. Over a 4-year span, and sometimes businessmen are kind of cutthroat. And people work in triple digits. But it is also humid, right? Not good, potentially. But people work in triple digit, hundreds. They work in when it's 100 something out. Anyway, and blah, blah, blah. They're making it sound like the AppHarvest was not a good thing to work for. Is this the guy who was complaining? Oh, Lord. Is this him? Do we want to hear it? I don't know if we want to hear it. Oh, Lord. Be quiet. I don't care about you. Look at these ridiculous advertisements. And it's not even going to let me skip. Okay, hang on. No, it has another thing. I'm not going to. How embarrassing. Pfizer has your back and is telling people to laugh. You have options. If you're 75 plus, pardon me while we have this strange interlude. I think I might. Okay.
A nightmare.
A nightmare.
It was a nightmare that should have never happened.
That nightmare happened here at this nearly empty greenhouse in eastern Kentucky. AppHarvest, a failed high-tech startup, promised local workers a future that spiraled into broken promises. Anthony Morgan bought into the company's public pitch that it was for Appalachia by Appalachians.
Whoa.
We was being told
Bye-bye.
that, hey guys, he's from here.
Thank you. Wow.
He is J.D. Vance,
J.D.
the
Vance.
Republican nominee for vice president.
I will be a vice president who never forgets where he came from.
Leaning on his personal rise out of poverty to reach swing state voters as Donald Trump's
Good for
running
him.
mate.
I chose him because he's for the worker. He's for the people that work so hard and
Nice.
perhaps weren't treated like they should have been.
But before politics,
See?
Vance was a venture capitalist and AppHarvest's first outside investor, eventually steering millions of dollars to the company.
Outside investor.
Vance was a lead pitchman for the vertical farming startup, tweeting he was a supporter and investor, writing, "I love this company."
Nice.
It's a great business that's making a big difference in the world.
The company's investor presentation pledged a commitment to Appalachia,
I'm
estimating
bored already. This is
thousands
boring.
of new jobs to a poverty-stricken
Boring.
area.
I don't care. I
major
don't care. I don't care. Oh, let's hear him complain.
This is with them was, we want to bring work to eastern Kentucky. This
Nice.
is why we are here.
Morgan left a stable job to join AppHarvest as a
Wow.
crop care specialist, pruning the greenhouse-grown vegetables.
Hey.
A single father with 6-year-old twins, the job rapidly turned when production fell behind under what a dozen workers described to CNN as mismanagement, including dangerous conditions. Employees filed
Mismanagement is not J.D. Vance's fault. Every company is mismanaged. And a single father. Anyway, they're going after J.D. Or they're going after these other companies. What a mess, huh? Terrible. Well, we wish that man well, that single father well. We shout him out. Shout out to that single father who's with that beautiful Kentucky accent. I love a Kentucky accent. Okay, nice. Anyway, guys, I don't like this guy, JD, but if he was a stockholder, if he was just a stockholder, who cares? Exactly. Reg Laser. Means he tried to invest in the local. Yeah. People, it's hard to find good businesses these days, you know? It's hard to find good businesses. What a mess. I'm having to wrap up this show, guys. I won't be able to get to the poor Brits of color who are struggling, who are contemplating their safety after the quote-unquote far-right riots. I can't get to that. I'll have to get to that maybe tomorrow or something. Because Joel Friday's coming in here and let me set that up. I'm sure that he's scheduled, hopefully, by now. And let me actually show this. Let me go ahead and start to play this. This is fun for me. We are closing out the show, the Hake Report, and look at this beautiful scenery while I do this strange interlude. Joel Friday is going to be coming up, guys. The heck, Joel? Are you scheduled? He's on it? Something like that? Okay, he's coming in. Wait. No, are you scheduled? Oh, he has an issue right now. Okay, cool. Huh. Glad it's not my fault. In the meantime, let me play some beautiful music while I show you guys this beautiful scenery from, this is Mount Baldy. That's different. Cool. And it doesn't look too shabby. So, let me play some Vroom. Is it okay if I play Vroom? I've been wanting to play this song for so long. All right, guys. Adios, America. Joel Friday coming up next.
Cryogenically preserved, but you've got cold shoulders for me to lean on. I can't forget you, girl.
Whoa.
I don't remember how to spell your name. You are my favorite dream. You're my poison air. You are my nightmare. Constant misery. It's still a mystery. Why love you when you can't stand me? I've got a better place waiting for you. I've got a better place waiting for you out there. If we we can roll on, be together, tie your sweater, little closer, my princess. You're a noose and I'm a neck, oh, won't we so perfect for each other? Have occurred. 3 in the furnace, 4 seen unburned. You're the quiet
It's Christian.
You are my favorite dream. You're my poison air. You are my nightmare. In constant misery, it's still a mystery. Why love you when you can't stand me?
Oh no. Jesse's looking at me.
Refresh me on your name. I call you every night.
game.
You're smiling about your eyes. I'll be back here again. That's just the way it always ends. Who am I talking to? I always get it wrong. This one goes out to you. An adoration song. And maybe you will fall, just like Narcissus fell. And be a flower by your well.
I don't want your love no more.
The oxygen I breathe. You are my favorite dream.
You're my
poison air. You are my nightmare. In constant misery.
It's still a mystery.
Why I love you and you can't stand me.
Sing from the chest. No, I sing from my head. I gotta get out of here. Joel Friday coming up next. Where's she Asian? No. This is so cringy, I almost like it. Adios, guys. Again, Joel Friday coming up next. Peace in the Middle East, and I'm late.